Okay, welcome to the 14th version of the Genus Weekly In Focus COVID-19 video. Our co-founder Leslie Cliff is taking a break this Friday. My name is Mary Lee Miles, and I'm the Director of Wealth Management here at Genus. And I work with a team of portfolio managers that are passionate about what we do, listening to our clients, working with them to find their financial goals, and creating investment portfolios that meet their needs. So we are starting to now actually not only meet by Zoom and video chats and emails and phone calls, but to do a little bit of social distance on the patios and back decks and coffee shops. So make sure you reach out to your portfolio manager if that's comfortable for you. So my role today is to ask Wayne Michelle, our CEO, co-founder, and Chief Investment Officer, a few questions. So let's start off, Wayne. Of course, what's happening in the market this week? We've seen a little bit of volatility, and I'm sure you can speak to that.
Well, a bit of a bounce back from last week. There was some good news on the economic front, and not so much good news on the pandemic side. On the economic side, the retail sales were higher than expected, up 17%. Some good PMI numbers that came out. And also, Jay Powell is really jawboning. He's talking up the market with threats of easing, doing more easing. And also, the Fed started buying corporate bonds. So that was the positive news in terms of more money going into the market and better economic news. And because of that, we're seeing some of the economic forecasters raising their Q3 forecast from up 10 to up 20. So on an annualized basis, Q2 expect to be down around 25%. They anticipate Q3 to be up 20% now. So almost a snapback over those 2 quarters. So much stronger growth. And we're seeing some of the activity in housing, autos. People have to buy cars now. They don't take mass transit as well. So that was the good news on the pandemic side. Looks like we're getting a Sunbelt kind of breakout to the pandemic. I still believe it's part of the first wave. The first wave is not over. And we're seeing some growth in places like Arizona. So that was the bad news. Today, Apple announced they're closing some of their southern stores during this period here. But the economy is going on and people are out there, social distancing or not, they're out there. But the news generally was good this week, and the market reflected that being up a couple percent.
Maybe you could explain sort of what PMI is too, and I gather by quarter one, quarter two.
Yeah, Purchasing Manager Index. The Empire State one was higher than expected, so that was good news.
I guess it's not surprising that with some outbreaks after the demonstrations that we've seen over the last few weeks too. It's about 2 weeks since those started.
I'm not sure if it's because of that. It could be, but it seems to be it's more regional. Like there weren't many protests in the far south. I don't think the far south was really hit initially, and like they're getting their turn right now. And maybe they were getting a bit too cocky or whatever because the numbers weren't that high there. But now places like Arizona are getting out, and on a per capita basis, it kind of looks like the pattern of New York, but the smaller population. So that's something to be concerned about. But I think it's going to be regional. I don't anticipate there's going to be closing. But one thing this week, I think, which really made a lot of sense is California is forcing everybody to wear masks in public areas. And so we want to keep the pandemic under wraps. I think we have to start wearing masks more. And that means everybody wearing masks. And I think the Asians, they've figured this out. Look at places like Vietnam that really beat the pandemic by wearing masks and social distancing. So we can do this if we all cooperated. Now that's going to be the next big push, I think, by the health authorities.
Oh, thanks for that. The other thing, we had a question from one of our clients who read an article in The Atlantic about the risk of collateralized loan obligations, or CLOs, in the U.S. banking system. So first of all, are Genus clients exposed to that in their portfolios, or do you have any concern in the Canadian banking system about?
We don't hold any directly at all. We have some exposure through some of the banks. I know we checked a few of your banks we held, and I think JP Morgan had 1% of their total assets. I think we had numbers on TD Bank as well, like 1%. So we seem to be limited within the banks and the higher quality ones. You can get different ratings, and apparently the banks hold a higher. So we don't see any exposure there right now. They could be issued. There are a lot of hedge funds and funds geared for that kind of investment that are out there, and that's where a lot of the exposure is. You have to be careful of that. We don't see any. We did one rinse of our portfolios. We don't see much exposure there as we sit.
Maybe you could give us a little definition of what collateralized loan obligations actually are, just for some of our viewers out there.
Well, they're corporate loans that are bundled together, and what they try and do is they try and grade them and use diversification to make them safer. And when you have systemic hits across the whole economy, diversification doesn't work that well. So that's the concern with CLOs, and so And whereas in 2008 it was CDOs, which were basically mortgages, collateralized mortgages, and that was
Right.
and a lot of subprime ones and bad ones that were garbage put together, were still garbage.
Yeah, unfortunately, but so we're not seeing a repeat of 2008 on that front.
Not yet.
Yeah, so of course everybody's asking about the U.S. election campaign that is ramping up this weekend. So what is your view, or is this already factored into the markets, or is there going to be some volatility out of that?
I don't think the market's focusing on it yet. I think come September, it's going to make, we'll all take a look what's going on. We have to see the debates. Right now, I always look at the betting polls. Right now, Biden's moved ahead of Trump based on his handling of the pandemic and the riots, I would say. Biden has to come out of his basement one day and get in the campaign. So that's going to be interesting when we see the debates. And the incumbent always has a lot of money. He has a lot of money and a lot of advantages. So to me right now, it's a coin toss. I don't know who's going to win this race. The big issue here too is will the Democrats sweep all the houses? And if the Senate is still held by the Republicans, they can stop any kind of major tax on corporate profits or capital gains kind of thing. So to be determined yet. I'd say come September, October, the market will start focusing. But right now, the market is overwhelmed by focusing on the recovery and the pace of the recovery. That's the big focus of the market right now. That's what's driving values and prices.
Yeah, the sense we're having talking to clients is that as we gradually return to haircuts and tennis and golf and restaurants and increasing our bubbles with our family, it seems to be a little bit more positive out there and than it was just a few weeks ago. So I really want to thank you, Rain, for doing this once again. And thank you all for taking the time to watch us today. I do encourage you to reach out to your portfolio manager if you've got any questions about what we've discussed today or anything about your own situation and portfolio. We love to hear from you. And as Dr. Bonner Henry, the BC Provincial Health Officer, says, be kind, be calm, and be safe. And Leslie and Wayne will be back next week. So you all have a wonderful summer solstice weekend. We'll look forward to that longest day of the year. Enjoy.